Sing. We must sing to teach our children of God. Heaven knows all the rest of the world is singing to our children loud and clear, sharing all their thoughts and opinions everywhere that they turn. Somehow our voices that know our God, need to sing loudest in our children's lives. Let me introduce you to my great-grandma, Estella Manwaring Brockbank. She is the little girl on the right, kneeling at her mother's feet with her sisters. She lived to be 104, and I was 21 when she died. So I knew her very, very well. When she was nearly 100 years old, she decided she'd come visit my family. So she flew from Utah to my family home in Connecticut on the East Coast. And like all good grandmothers, she came bearing gifts. But in order for her gifts not to get smushed, she put a homegrown zucchini, in one shoe inside her suitcase, and some homemade fudge in another shoe of her suitcase. And it was delicious. Well, one night when Grandma was getting ready for bed, my mother walked past the bedroom door where great-grandma Stella was getting ready. She peeked inside, and she saw a nearly 100-year-old body kneeling at the side of her bed, and a nearly 100-year-old spirit singing her praise to God out loud, talking to him as if he were a friend right there in the room, as he had been her whole life. Grandma Stella has taught her children to sing. In fact, she has taught many generations to sing because she taught us the truth about God. I found myself a couple years ago in a position where I was very grateful that my husband and I had taught our children how to pray. I had picked my children up from school, and we were driving down a country road near our home in Maryland when I started to feel nauseous, and I thought, I'll get home before this gets messy, and we'll be fine. But as I was driving, it got just heavier, harder. So I pulled over, and the nausea really just kind of became so uncomfortable. Everything in the car was overwhelming and hot. And so I crawled from the front seat of the car into the back seat and laid in a fetal position at the feet of all four of my children. And I found it hard to breathe. And I looked down, and my hands were like frozen in a really strange position. And later I found out that that was my first panic attack. But I had no idea what that was and what was going on. I really thought I was dying at the feet of our four children. At the time, our oldest daughter was 8, and she was able to grab my phone and text her dad. You can see a cute little picture of the text that she sent saying that we were having an emergency. And she was also able to call 911 so an ambulance could come. And as I lay there, not being able to breathe, not being able to help, not being able to comfort my children, they said, "What can we do?" And our oldest children, I said, "Pray, say a prayer." And I listened to their little voices, talk to their Heavenly Father and say, "Please help whatever's going on with Mommy to stop. Please help her to feel better. And please bless this to go away." I'm so glad I taught them to pray at a time when I could barely pray and when I was so fearful. Their young voices were able to call up to the heavens. Since then, I've done like a dance with anxiety. It is part of my life. It is part of our family's life. We talk about it very, very openly, just as we would any ailment in our home and anybody. So when I'm having an off day, the children will pray with me and for me, just as I would pray with them and for them for anything that is hurting them. Now, time will tell if they're going to need a whole lot more therapy when they're adults because I've been so open with them, or if they're going to need a whole lot less because they're very well versed in whole body health. But time has already told me that these sweet little children know where to turn in a time of trial and in a time of triumph. They know to turn to their God because my husband and I have sung God's truth to their little souls.